You got the flapper, and you just put that over those ears again, kind of like I showed you before. I've got this little deal here that hooks on. Because it's got this little white goody attachment, I can just do it like that. Now if you didn't have this part here, sometimes toilets here have a little notch here where you can hook this pipe down in there, or there's a cap on the top with a little round hole that you can put this round black pipe on. You know, the end of this black pipe, you could sneak that right down in there in that little groove if you had to. Or if this has a cap on there with a little round hole to put the black tube in, you can do that. But because it's got this, I just like using that. Now, if you don't have that and you put this black tube on there, make sure you only have it in there. And when we adjust this water, I want it an inch below the top of here. So then you don't want the black pipe any lower than an inch below the top of here. You don't want to shove it way down here because that could siphon some water out, and your fill valve may be working overtime. You might think that your flapper's leaking, or the bottom seal that we put down there is leaking, but it might be because this is siphoning. Okay, very important with that. Almost ready to turn this water back on, but I gotta hook this back up here. I just want to make that snug as a bug in a rug. I hand tighten it, and I might use my little pliers for like a quarter turn or an eighth turn, just a little on there. Okay. I think we're ready to turn the water back on. Fire in the hole. Let's see what happens here. I haven't adjusted this yet, but I want the water an inch below the top of this, and I cut this top off about the same as the other one, remember? And it all fits about in the very same spot, so I might have to do some readjusting right there. And if you're having a question how far an inch is there, I could have put a pencil line on it, or when the water stops, I can hold my tape measure down there, you know, where an inch is, and see. The last thing I want is for it to be above an inch. Will it still work right and flush right and everything? Yeah. But you don't need that much more water to flush your toilet. Then you're being wasteful. You're wasting water. And if you're on a water meter, that's not something you want to be doing now, is it? That looks pretty close to an inch to me. Hold my tape down there. Touching right there. And it looks like pretty close to an inch. Okay. So far so good. I've got this tank pretty snug down there. And this still moves around a little bit. I might have to tighten that up. You know, in fact, I think I will need to tighten that up a little bit more. I see water dripping out of the back side. And there shouldn't be any water dripping out of there. So I'm going to have to tighten this down a little bit. Okay, we got a corporate decision here. This gap is so small. And I've tried 3 times to get this exactly right as I'm tightening it up. And I'm almost tight here, and I'm just about touching on the back, porcelain to porcelain, and the back screw still wants to leak ever so little. So what do you suppose I can do about that? You remember? I've got an extra thick gasket. That's an extra thick gasket. It's not that much thicker. But I'm going to put that. I'm going to have to take this tank down again. And I'm going to put that under there to give this a little bit more room, so when I cinch it down, it's going to be nice and tight. There's not much room there. You got to be careful about that too as you're tightening them up even, but you know, it looks like there's a lot of gap there. There's about, oh, maybe an eighth or so, and almost touching at the bottom, at the back. Now, I'm going to try one more time. See, I'd have to drain this out, loosen up the nuts, and take this and kind of scooch it back that way. You know what I mean? So I can tighten up the front more and tilt it forward a little bit so that when I get ready to tighten up the back, I'm going to have enough room. Just got to be careful. It's amazing how shifting the tank just a little bit, I was able to push the bottom and kind of push it back that way and kind of pull the front forward a little bit, get the front two screws kind of tight, and then tighten the back one. And I got plenty of room back there now. You know, when I say plenty of room, an 1/8 inch gap, maybe a 1/16 here in here. So I'm going to look at that and see if it's going to drip anymore. And if so, I still got a little bit of room. I can tighten the nut down a little bit more. So I guess that that one fitting that I put in there worked. But if you're having a hard time with that, that's why I say if you go to the store and get some extra parts, had you have gotten a bigger one, this was the extra thick one, you know, it gave you another 1/8 of an inch gap. So this would be up just a hair higher. So if you didn't get your tank perfect, you could still tighten it down without any leaks. Oh yeah, finally. I know, you want to see if it's dripping down here, don't you? I flushed it a couple times. No water there. Nothing around there that I can see. Well, there's a little bit of moisture down there because I've been jostling the tank around. So I can check it for a few minutes, you know. And those screws, incidentally, that tightens this down. And it also, that's why you got to have the rubber washers inside, because you don't want any water dripping out of that. And if this starts dripping down here, I can tighten the nuts up just a hair more. Even if the water's not leaking out of the tank, but if it's leaking down here at the washer, I can tighten that up a little bit more and squeeze it just a hair more. So on the flush, no water. Okay, lots of things you're learning today. Thanks for sticking around. I might want to start saying the more you watch, the more you save. You know, hey, one of my mottos, the more you watch, the more you'll learn. Of course, that's one of them. And in hand, you're going to keep those dollar bills from flying out your back pocket. I hope you got your money's worth on that video. May I now say, ready for the next customer? You bet. Gotta go for now, but I'll be back with more videos.